We're back.
We're back. Back again.
I
Third
hope
time's the charm.
whenever you listen to this, I hope that the microwave isn't in retrograde like it is right now because
Mhm.
wow, did we have technological issues from my actual technology of my camera to my cat's water fountain. Everything broke today. So, it's fine. We're here. I have handy little notifications though. So my phone was like, "Zzz, zzz," and the app was like, hey, the fountain is disconnected. And I was like, okay. Sometimes I feel like, yeah,
You
I
have
know.
an
It's one of
app
the
for
only
your
notifications.
cat's water fountain?
Yes, yes, it tells me how much water they drink, and it reminds me to clean it when it's time to clean it, because otherwise I forget to clean it, and it's like, "Hey, like, the filters like, that filter, it's time to swap out the filter," and so it's just like, it's just helps my little brain, and
Those cats drink
unfortunately
better water than I do.
listen, they really do, that shit has ultrafiltration, it's very fancy, and I will say that I do oh my god, sorry, I just realized the cat that was on my desk is now a different cat. So, I looked over and it was not what I was expecting it to look like. So, it's fine. Okay, enough about my cats. This is not an episode about my cats, I just wanna
We
make
could
that
do
clear.
an episode if, comment wherever you're listening to this if you care to hear an episode about our cats, because we are both cat people.
Right, and we could do an episode about messes in regards to pets,
Oh, Lord.
because Lord knows these mofos be messy, but anyways, what we're actually here to talk about today,
Mhm.
which is very, present in our
Top of mind.
day to day, I don't know, is what happens when high achieving girls become women? Which sounds like hella deep, and it is, but I also want to make it clear that this is not going to be like, according to a 1980s study done. Like, that's not that kind of show.
We have
So,
no
in case this
sources.
is the first, if for whatever reason this is the first episode you're listening to, wow, what an intro, first off. But
You're
second of all,
welcome.
I promise it's not going to be dry as shit. Okay, anyways. Olivia, tell me about your childhood.
Oh, where do we begin? Um, so the anxiety started when I was 7 years old, and no, but, like, actually, and probably before then, TBH, like, I was told by multiple sources. There are my sources, first-hand accounts.
Yeah, are you gonna tell us the sources, or are
I
you
mean,
gonna be
they're
a
like
good journalist and keep them tucked away?
like, family members have told me that
Mm.
I was a very shy and rather anxious preschooler, which
Oh,
is fascinating. And
interesting.
no one is surprised that that shy and anxious preschooler grew up to be an anxious adult. So that's the kind of, I don't want to call it funny because it's not funny. It's
You're like,
a
so
little bit,
the hilarious part
so
is
it's
my childhood hurt.
damn it. Like it came from there's that root, like I am the way that I am. And I went from that to entering a school environment in which no one really pushed me. I didn't have
Mm.
I didn't have tiger parents. I didn't have even though I grew up in the white part of the Bay Area, nobody was pushing me to take 5 AP classes or join the youth symphony while doing sports and volunteering at the whatever place. Like nobody and I'm stereotyping, but it's a stereotype for a reason.
Listen, knowing the area you grew up in, that's a stereotype for a reason.
Mhm. Mhm. And I had a lot of friends who were that way, and they were of
That you
certain
were meeting at
races
school? Did you go
that
to public
I
school?
Oh, yeah, I
I
went
don't
to
think I've
public
ever asked you that.
school K through 12, the first not the only, because now I'm at a private, university, but Linfield was my first, private school. We can bleep that out if we don't wanna name drop, but Like, who
I'm
cares?
sure they could figure it out if they scroll down our Instagrams far enough.
Yeah.
If they cared to. I don't think that they do, but, if you did,
Yeah. If anybody wants to know where I
surprise.
got my double major, now you know.
Olivia has a double major. I have 2 degrees, just to make it clear.
Just to like one up here, we'll get to that later. We'll get to the that level of achievement.
Can you imagine? That was actually that much of an asshole. Did I tell you, by the way, total tangent, but did I tell you that the day of our graduation, someone came up to me and was like, why are you holding 2 diplomas? Like, why did they give you 2? And I was like, Be- because I got 2 degrees. And they were like, what? And I was like, why else would they give me 2 diplomas? Like, they were like, no, it wasn't like they were like, oh, grab an extra if you're feeling, fancy or
You
whatever.
got one for
Anyways,
the
it's just one of the,
bathroom.
I've never forgotten that moment. I was like, girl, okay, let's think a little bit about what you're asking. Why do you think? Anyways, continue.
Mhm.
So you went to,
I
you
went
went to
to I
public
went to
school.
public school, but all of my schools were California distinguished at the time. Now they have a new name. They're called Gold Ribbon Schools or something. I don't know why they changed the name. But the schools that I went to
Okay.
encouraged academic excellence. And I had a lot of friends who were taking multiple AP classes and taking a language all 4 years of high school while doing clubs and sports and volunteering and playing an instrument. And just their plates were totally overloaded. So that was just the culture. The culture of where
Mm.
I grew up encouraged me to bite off more than I could chew. My parents did not. My parents were just like, as long as you're getting A's, the occasional B.
As long as you're just getting straight A's, there's no problem, Olivia.
Exactly. But then they never punished me for anything because they didn't. I was so self-motivated to do
Mm,
well, partly because I was scared to do things wrong. I never when I was
mm.
growing up, it took me until my senior year of high school to raise my hand in class. I would not contribute even though I knew the answers. Like, I was paying attention. I had perfect attendance.
How do
I
you remember that? That's incredible that you know that enough to pick that little fact out of a hat trick. In case anyone was wondering, our episode preparation does not go that deep for me to be like, I want you to recall a specific incident in which what were the 3 signs that were demonstrated in your academic journey?
listen, I quit therapy, so this is where we're at right now. It's the time for well, I graduated actually, but that's
Okay,
another thread
very
for the high
important.
achievement.
Oof, that's a
Winning at
big one.
therapy, that's a whole new episode in
You're
its
like,
itself.
I'm so high achieving that I won therapy.
That
But
I
then,
win at therapy. I know, like, for real though, I'll get into that in another episode because that's the whole thing. But, yeah, like, my parents didn't punish me or, like, do anything to get me to do the work. I just didn't wanna be wrong. I was a perfectionist to the point of such high anxiety that anytime I had to take like, an essay test, like, for AP classes where I had to write
mm,
an essay just off the cuff, or if I had to yeah, it was mostly, like, big tests where the anxiety would get so high that I'd be like, "I'm gonna shit my pants. I'm going to not be
did you
okay."
actually ever shit your pants?
I never did. It was just, like, such high
Okay.
anxiety,
Maybe you were gonna surprise me with another one and be like, and then one day
and then
in the middle history class, I did, which would be a sign of very high anxiety.
mhm. Yeah, fortunately, I did not, but it was stuff like that. It was just, like, how how much I wanted to succeed just to say that I succeeded. A lot of the time, I
Mm,
didn't even get particular accolades, like, I got a report card, I got whatever scores on the AP tests, but, like, when we graduated college, nobody
yeah.
said summa cum laude because I didn't write it down. Like, It was all so I learned eventually, I learned in my I'm still learning this lesson, but like you can work your ass off. You can, bust a gut. You can do every possible thing to succeed in your own mind, but other people aren't going to praise you.
Mm. And see, I had a very different experience because as a first generation immigrant that taught herself English, um, I feel like I had a chip on my shoulder from that experience for sure. Like I remember my kindergarten teacher telling me I would never learn how to read, and not in such colorful language, but I was like, "Fuck you,
Hmm.
watch."
Yeah,
And then the next year I was reading Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and I like tore through the series and I taught myself how to read really fast. And I started like pretty early on being very good at standardized testing to the point where I would get incredibly irritated if I placed in the 98th or 97th percentile and not in the 99th. Like that's how, yeah, like we're talking like
oh
fourth
my
grade, right?
God.
And I had like a life plan. Like I was that 8-year-old that was like, I'm gonna finish college, go to Harvard, and be a lawyer. And that was like that was the plan, that was the plan, that was the plan. To such an extent that high school was really hard for me because I went from a tiny, tiny elementary middle school to a not a large school by any means, but a much larger. To put it in perspective, I graduated in a class of 6 eighth graders. I was one of them, so like 5 other kids in my 8th grade class, schoolhouse building type stuff. And then I went to a school where in my grade I had 200 other girls, and I went to an all girls school. Very competitive, very much what you were describing. I felt like I was behind my entire high school career because I wasn't playing sports and instruments and even though I sat on the board of a nonprofit when I was 15. Like
Casual.
right. But somehow I was still behind and, like, just, like, failing because I think one of the things is when you attach your entire self-esteem, your entire self-worth, your entire self-image to such a fickle thing like academia or, like, not surface level, but, like, very visible, quote, tangible success markers,
Hmm.
then the second those go away, like, you and in, like, my case, my parents and I, like, our relationship really suffered as a result, because they didn't know what it was like to parent a child that wasn't a straight A student when I got to high school. And when I say I wasn't a straight A student or whatever, in my mind, I failed high school was so rough, da 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 da. I found my high school transcript a couple years ago when we were moving, and with unweighted, like, I had, like, a 3.3 or a 3.2 or something like that. Weighted, it was, like, a 3.7, 3.8. So I by no means was, like, failing, but I felt so behind because I was in an environment that had people that had 4.5s that were going to Princeton,
Right.
that had the Ivy Leagues, you know what I mean? Like, I knew someone I applied to the University of Chicago, and I know a girl that was waitlisted there, and, like, I remember the week that one girl was she was stressed because she got waitlisted to University of Chicago, while my classmate was stressed because she still hadn't heard back from Princeton, while, like, my other classmate was in at Notre Dame, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh my God.
meanwhile, I was like at that point, I was thinking community college because I just felt like I needed a break. I felt like I needed a break from that level of rigor, and then I didn't because of a breakup, but we could get into that another day. And then I ended up at a academically challenging school, but that wasn't the right fit for me. I came back, ended up going to community college for a semester, which was wonderful. Got straight A's there, like full whatever. And lots of people are like, oh, it's because it's easier. And it's like also I think in a way, community college, like people aren't tripping that much about rote memorization. They're tripping about like life skills. I don't know if I've ever
Yes.
really verbalized that, but like I think that's one of the biggest things that I loved, right? Like my professors were not just like, "Oh, I want you to do this so that my statistics are really high." They wanted me to get it because they wanted me to get it, right? And I learned so much more about like life from my professors. Got a 4.0 while working, whatever. And then I ended up at Linfield, and was, like, determined to continue that, like, 4.0 run because it almost felt like I found myself again,
Right.
and I didn't because Linfield was another very dramatic shift, very different expectations professor-wise. I mean, like, a private college with challenging faculty.
Mhm. Yeah.
Will not at anyone in particular, but if you're listening to this,
There's a
you
couple
know who you
ats.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, very different like faculty mindset. And I didn't get a 4.0. And for a long time, like I felt really crappy about that. And I remember the fact like we weren't friends when this was happening, but our spring semester, I was like about to finish my thesis. I was like 3 weeks away, maybe a month away from us turning in our thesis for one department. Because of course I was me, so I was like, "Oh, you know what? I'm not just gonna get a double major. I'm gonna get a dual degree." And I like researched the crap out of the registrar requirements so that I could do that. You know, you were
Yeah,
around for
because
that journey,
we
but
were both trying to do it, yeah.
um, one of us succeeded. No, just kidding. But
Only.
I was on that thing and I was already salty because of what we talked about last time, right? Not being able to get my minor. So I was like, we're getting
Mm.
this double degree. But I wanted a thesis that encompassed both, even though one of my departments, psych, didn't need a thesis. We didn't do that in the psych department, but international relations, I already did. And so I was like, no, I'm going to do like this thesis to like join the two because everyone's always like, oh, those two things have nothing to do with each other, whatever. And as I'm like a month out from my thesis, my advisor on the IR side decides that he wants me to run an experiment. Meanwhile, I'm having like the worst semester of my life. Like my best friend's dad died that semester. I had to like 5150 a friend in another state who was suicidal
Oh my god.
and called me on like his like goodbye tour and I was like
Oh,
in the middle of
shit.
Albertsons like calling 911. I was having a horrible PTSD crisis, living with a stranger. Like my friend I basically had no friends because my friends had all either graduated before I came back for that extra semester for the other degree slash you slash you know what I mean? Like I didn't really have friends. Like I had my fraternity, my sorority friends, but it was just I was so unsupported. Like truly and honestly, one of my biggest supports that semester was Dr. Bakener from the psych department because he and
Shout out.
I shout out Dr. Bakener, you were going through it and so was I. But he showed me a level of understanding and compassion. I told him like shit's getting real. And he would tell me, oh my God, I remember that semester. He told me he had cancer before he told his kids. And I remember being like, this feels like very privileged information.
What the
Right.
fuck?
Yeah. And then I was telling him like about my friend's dad, like about my PTSD. Like I was like, Dr. Brina, I was like having like this whole thing to the point that while I was, so I was dealing with like my advisor on the other side being like, oh, you have to do an experiment. So now I'm trying to cram an experiment into my like last couple of weeks. My thesis ended up I couldn't pull it together on time. I was one of the first ones to go. I couldn't. I had to send an email and be like I'm not ready. So that automatically drops your score 10%,
Ah.
which was brutal for me. And so I crushed my presentation. I ended up going on the last day like absolutely killed it. Like literally like and not to like be dramatic or anything, but if people gave standing ovations for undergraduate thesis presentation, like they would. Um, because I absolutely like crushed it. Like the advisor said I crushed it. Every other student was like, that was the best presentation we've seen all like the whole time. It was amazing, but I ended up with an 85 on my thesis because of that 10% markdown.
Mhm.
And um LOL, this is real life. It's messy. I already fed the cats. They're trying to con you. I love that that's gonna be in the
That's part of it.
show for in perpetuity.
Welcome back to You Can't Avoid the Mess, featuring a mess.
Featuring a mess, my cats, con men, all of them. And so yeah, I ended up with that 85, and they offered me the chance to like fix my mistakes, whatever, bring it up to a 90, which would have made me graduate with an honors thesis. And I considered it. Like it was like the day before it was due, and I was like staring at my laptop being like, do I rewrite like whole sections of my thesis? And then I was like, I can't. Like I physically cannot find the will in my body to do that. Oh, because also around that time, I was writing my book. I
Oh my
was like,
God.
I was finishing the first
Why?
draft of my book, and 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 then like I remember back to Dr. Baker, whose self-compassion or whose compassion for me gave me so much more self-compassion that semester. I remember driving back to camp because I left campus. Once I finished my thesis and stuff, like I packed up half my stuff and left. I didn't come back until it was time for graduation because I went right to work. Because I was also prepping to do that semester. LOL. Because that was like my biggest managerial summer for Cutco. And so I came back for graduation, and on my drive up, so we're talking like Friday night, yeah, like Thursday or Friday of that week, Dr. Bakener's emailing me like, hey, I have to turn in grades. Like, I need your final paper. And I'm like in my car. My husband's driving, and I'm like typing my last paper because that's how behind I was. And I
Oh my
felt like
God.
trash. But he was just like, hey, you need to get this to me. And I was like, you're absolutely right. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. Because that was like the fifth paper I turned in late that semester for him. Like I was basically just like floundering.
Oh,
And I sent it off, and he gave me a great grade. Honestly, God bless. And then that was that, right? Like that semester was just so hard. And I felt like crap about the fact that when I was sitting there for graduation, I didn't graduate with a stupid honors thesis that I knew I earned, but I didn't earn, like, I didn't get it quick enough because of all
mm.
the stuff that I had going on at that same time. So it just, it's like, it stays with you, right? And I think that part of it for me has always been like, I also like didn't go to a renowned school that my parents could brag about. Like I didn't have that whatever. I didn't leave and like have a job, like a fancy job with a fancy title, yada yada, that my parents could be like, "Oh, my kid's doing this." And there's so much pressure for that. But I really like something I keep coming back to over and over again is like I'm really really proud of the person that I am, not the things that I do. Like I'm proud of the way that I treat people. I'm proud of the way that I show up, regardless of like what I do for work or what I do professionally, regardless of how much money I have. Like not saying that I don't have ambitions in both of those areas, but that's not what I want to be remembered for. Unless, like I just get hella money and then I can just start like, to everybody, right? Like, yes, I do want to be known for being very generous. However, not in the sense that I'm like, "Oh, I have this job, so I make this much money," and, like, that's my sense of self-worth because a job can go anywhere at any time. Like, nothing is guaranteed, and I think it is so dangerous to allow young girls to develop a sense of self-worth that hinges on one thing that's not in their control forever and ever and ever.
Mhm.
Because, like, what happens when it goes away? You literally lose yourself, and then you spend years putting yourself back together
Tell me about
unnecessarily.
it. Yeah, we graduated.
Unnecessarily.
Let's talk about it. How our patterns and beliefs and habits that we learned when we were younger shaped how we operate in the world today as working adults. That, oh my God, just because how many years has it been since it's been 7 years since we graduated? And in those 7 years, that was exactly like you just perfectly articulated my experience of having to put myself back together and find
Mm.
a new identity that wasn't so tied to academia. And, we can
Because you were like, for those of you, I say, like, people fucking knew you back then. Olivia was like hashtag Miss School. Like, the when the Barbie trend was going on, Olivia's in college would have just been like Barbie goes to school because Olivia was that girl. Like, full on academia, everything. Like, her whole life was academia. She like wrote for the paper, and that
Yeah.
was a huge thing that she did, and like whatever. Then we had our show, and then she had straight A's and like all these relationships, all these
I
professors, and like
directed the
buck,
writing
buck, buck,
center.
buck, 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 buck.
Like,
Oh my god, yes, I forgot
yeah.
about that. Did you know I avoided the writing center after he ghosted me because I was like, nope, I don't need none y'all because I didn't want to see you.
Which is so fair, because I did spend a lot of time there.
You did, and I was like, I'm not fucking sure. I like my roommate then, who was in Olivia's department, would be like, "Oh, yeah, I have a shift at the writing center," and I'd be like, "Nice." Like, I'm never showing my face there ever again. To be clear, I was like, "Nope, I was not trying to be in a small confined room with you." Can you imagine? You're the only one available. I would have been like, "No, actually, I'd rather take the F by."
You wouldn't though.
I really wouldn't. But the thing is, you would have had no. You would have been like, and then I would have been like, "You're no fucking help to me." Bye.
Yeah, because I mean, you were in totally different departments, so I would have been like, I don't know how to help you. I don't know what you're doing, because I was so deep in the humanities, and because I had one foot in journalism and one foot in literature. So anytime anyone came in with like a history paper or archaeology, I was just like, I don't.
Send help. To
Yeah,
be fair, good old homeboy Tor was very helpful with a paper that I wrote for, I don't even remember what class. He was like, I don't know what's happening here, but here's my thoughts. And I was like, that was really good, dog. Thank you for that. Like, he was a real G for that.
I forgot about him. Oh my God, Tor,
So for
what a guy.
what a guy. Anyways,
Anyway,
continue. So you left academia, aka the pride and joy, and of which you were the pride and joy of your departments and of the paper and of.
outstanding senior award in the lit department. Yeah, yes. I was like I was so Hermione my whole life. Like that was a major part of my development as a child and as a human as well. Like my dad would read Harry Potter to me starting in kindergarten, and oh, I am Hermione, that is my identity. I am going to
Mm,
be smarter than all the boys. I'm gonna
mm.
read all the books. I'm gonna take extra classes. Like I wanted a time turner so fucking bad.
Same, same, same. So I could do more school. So I could do more school, and that's the work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my wish. It was like I didn't want to be super well, that's not true because I like when I was little I wanted to be a children's author by day and a pop star by night. I wanted to be like an author slash Hillary Duff.
You still can, babes.
I
The
still
this the
can.
the world is your
Pearl
oyster.
is
I
my
believe
and
in
I'm
you.
the pearl. Yeah. Let's fucking go. But yeah, so I when we graduated, I went to the company that I had found the summer before our senior year where I was doing reading and comprehension intervention for mostly special ed kids. Like minimum they would have the ADHD dyslexia wombo combo, but some of them were also on the autism spectrum or had other learning disabilities. So I went back to them and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna, be here for a while and then I'll move back to Oregon and maybe enter a grad program. And then COVID hit and I was like, now what? So it was a couple of
Mm,
years of me just like having this job that I knew wasn't going to be forever. And I kept moving up the ladder and I was so invested in the job because I wasn't going to school anymore. So I moved from tying all of my worth to my academic achievements to trying to be the best of whatever role I had at the company at the time.
mm,
And like trying to get all of if I got a positive email from my boss or if a student said that I was their favorite, then I just like was holding on to those comments for dear life because that was what I had going on at the time. It was just my work and how deeply I was invested in that, I felt was a reflection of my worth as a person. Like, if
mm.
I'm trying the hardest and doing the best job, I am good. I am worthy. I have earned my accolades and the ability to call myself a real adult at this point. Needless to
Right.
say, I did not have my license at the time and I still lived with my parents. So that was another layer. It was like, okay, I don't have this shit together, but if I can be the best person at the center, if I can wear the
Which
cutest
is
outfits.
crazy, by the way, because I just want to point out the fact that, like, the major detractors you had going on in your life was that you didn't have your driver's license and you lived with your parents, which by other people's, like, the idea that we should leave college and pack up a little girly boss briefcase and move into a high-rise apartment where we drive our fucking, I don't even know what fucking car, because I don't know which one works for this analogy, but like a fucking Beamer, just
Mm,
zoop zop zop. Why? Like, there's nothing that actually says that we have to do that. And there is so much shame that people feel, especially in this culture, for like living at home with your parents, that I find hilarious given
the economy.
the economy, also the fact that that's not just such a cultural like yuck in other places, like also the fact that like how many people, myself included, put themselves in really really bad financial spots just for the sake of claiming a sort of independence instead of just like not, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
why it kills me that you're like, meanwhile, I didn't have it together because I didn't have my license. I'm like, so? I mean, granted, it had been years that you were trying to get your license, so I get your point there. But also, like, so what? Plenty of people
Mhm.
learn how to drive in their fucking 50s, so who cares?
Yeah, that was just, I mean, that's what it's about. That's what the crux of this episode really is just like how detrimental these societal pressures are for young girls who become young women who then hold themselves to such high standards that they
Yeah,
have to go to therapy about it and have to undo all of these years, like decades basically, of conditioning that tell us, oh, I need to, because that was my dream, I wanted to graduate and then have my little rinky dink job for the summer and then move back up to Oregon, maybe live in Portland in an apartment by myself with my girl boss job. That was exactly what I thought you were supposed to do. And when that didn't
right.
happen, it was like, okay, I am failing. I'm going to eat my feelings and get into an emotionally abusive relationship because at least I have control over that. Like, it had really negative effects on the other aspects of my life.
Yeah, totally. And for me, it was actually financial. Like the biggest negative effect that I had was financial because I got into like this really abnormally high socioeconomic friend group, whatever. I felt like such a large pressure to like do the things that they were doing, live like they were doing, like or live like they were living, even though these people were 20, 30, 40 years older than me, uh having businesses that were producing. I mean, some of them were part of this one group that, not to be like, my friends, but like back then, like, some of them were part of a group that didn't accept you unless you were a millionaire, like, not just in, like, net worth, but, like, whatever, because, like, that's their thing, and, like, that's because otherwise, like, you really can't relate to the things that they're discussing, the things that the retreats are about, the like, you just can't, so that's their, like, entry level benchmark. And
Whoa.
those were the people that I was like hanging around, comparing myself to and being like, wow, I don't have my shit together. Wow. And so then I was making these decisions like spending my time, spending my money, like not necessarily doing bad things, but doing things that I felt like I had to do right the fuck now because somehow at 19 I was behind. Somehow at 20, like I didn't have it all together. Like, And I really, like, I didn't lean into resources, I didn't do things like look for it other ways, like, I got pretty heavily in my early 20s into credit card debt because I I mean, I had a great credit score from being responsible years prior, and I just wanted to prove that I could,
Mm.
and to prove that I could, I don't even know what, because would I change any of the experiences that I had in my early 20s, the retreats that I went to, the people that not at all. And I really do think, like, it was formative for me, and it really informed a lot of the person that I am today, and also, I just wish that someone would have been like, "Hey, instead of feeling like you have to flex the fact that you're the youngest person by decades in this room, you can work on growing yourself, but you don't have to reach this ultra excellence personal development level now. You can just, like, chill a little bit and, like, have a just fun, and do those things in stages, and do those things in steps." And I think that, like, one thing that I really struggled with up until, like, I don't know, maybe 2, 3 years ago was the concept that, like, if I knew I could be really good in something, I felt like I had to prove that I could. And now it's like,
Oh,
no, I could. Like, I could have I have more than a decade of sales experience. I could continue down that route alone, and I'm really good at it. But I don't want to anymore, and that's enough. I just don't want to anymore. And I have other passions, I have other interests, I have other things that I do professionally. I have other ideas, and, like, it's okay to just, like, to say, like, "Hey, I got so much out of it, but I actually can just step off the ladder, and I can, like, appreciate it, and I can say, like, 'Look where I got, and that's good,' but I don't have to reach my fullest potential and then step off it." Because I thought that the only way to step off the ladder was to just get to the top and then be like, "Well, time for a new adventure."
yeah, now I can
Instead of just
retire.
being like, yeah, instead of just, like, getting to the 3rd or 4th rung and knowing I could go a lot higher, but I don't want to anymore, and that's okay too. Like, it's okay to just, like, step off of it and be like, "Okay." And you know what? Never say never, right? 10 years from now, I might be like, "You know what? Let's go. Like, let me jump back into an individual seller role. Like, I'm just gonna crush it at whatever, go back to a startup, do whatever." But right this second, that's not what I'm craving. And, like, I do think that as women, as high achieving women, you can't have it all, but you don't have to.
That's
And
yes.
you get to just, you get to identify what you want to have and what you want to have right now.
Oh, that is so good. Oh my, that's the soundbite for this episode. That's
Ah, ah, ah,
oh man, you
in
can
the
have it all, but
background.
you don't have to. You can choose what you want to have when. That is, oh my gosh, there are so many just in that chunk that you were saying. I have so many thoughts on that. The first being, oh my God, this is so relevant to, I mean, I feel like this concept, which is why we're talking about this and why we're having this episode about this topic, is that the notion of being the feeling that you have when you are for sure like publicly the youngest in your workplace and feeling the need to prove yourself even though all these people have decades more experience than you and expect you to fumble and show that you are green, that is so present in education because
Mm,
the teachers with more experience are more relaxed. And it seems like they're not doing as much work because they aren't, because they've learned how to do less work. But then
but over a long time.
over it exactly. They've done decades more work, actually. They just don't do as much work day to day as you because you're still learning. So there's that. That's the thing that I've been running into a lot lately, especially this year with a different placement where I have more students to manage. And then the other thing that you were saying about how nobody tells you as a high achieving woman specifically that you because that's the difference. It's like being capable. versus having desire. You are capable
Mm.
of doing whatever you want because that's the type of woman
Because
that
you
you
are.
are because you are. And that's just how we are as people. If we want something, we're going to go get it. But you don't have to you don't have to do anything you don't want to do just because you think that you should. And especially that the latter, if you're whether it's corporate or some other situation where you're kind of leveling up in your workplace
Mhm.
or education, it is a choice. You can step off the ladder or you can, be climbing 2 ladders at the same time. You
Yeah,
can
for sure. That's another one. You don't have to like pick one. I feel like there's just so much, and to the point of our show, like the reason of why we're bringing this up is because it is just not so. It's not so linear. And people say that all the time, right? They're like, career progression isn't so whatever. But I think especially when your whole self identity is rooted in academia at any point in your life, right? Like mine was really early, yours was like early and later on, like you do and see it as a straight line because you just get used to checking off boxes. And
Yeah.
so you think that if you just check off enough boxes, like that's what life is about, instead of boxes being something to check because you have to do something, but like you just get to change your mind, and it isn't just so simple. And you get to just like decide not to, not because you can't or not because you chose poorly, right? Not because you regret anything, but because you don't want to. And that's not to say that like we're going to enjoy everything that you do professionally or every step of anything, or like learning a new job isn't hard. No, like that not at all. But like you don't actually have to stay in a career that isn't working for you anymore if it worked for you 5 years ago, if it worked for you 10 years ago. And you don't have to stay in a role if it just doesn't. If you want something different, like you can change and you don't have to explain it. It doesn't have to, it's almost like a breakup, right? Which God, we'll get into that on the next one. But
Mhm.
like you don't need this like deep, long, drawn out, dramatic thing for it just to be like, I just want to do something, or I just don't want to do something anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, you can pivot, and people say that all the time too, like, "Healing isn't linear, life isn't linear, you can pivot, blah, 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 blah." But you don't really understand the weight of that statement and the freedom that it gives you until you've experienced it. When
Truly.
I left I'm gonna drop it, Linda Mood Bell. When I left that company, it was terrifying because that was what I had steeped myself in for 5
Mhm.
years.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what was ahead, but I knew I just couldn't stay. And sometimes it comes to that. It is okay. Here is this podcast. Here's the two of us giving you permission to make a decision based on not just vibes, but like, I mean, we could say vibes, but really it's inner knowing. It's if something isn't working for you, you have permission to change it, and you don't need to be totally
Mhm.
certain about what's next. Knowing that you aren't happy where you are, whether that's a job, a relationship, a place that you're living, knowing what you don't want is still really helpful. And
Yep.
I encourage my students, I encourage younger staff members, other people in my life to just make a change without all the information. It's okay.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things that I used to say when I was coaching. But truly, like as a coach, like my my whole shtick was about like values alignment, right? And how life is just about working towards like what are the things that are the most important to me and are like my day-to-day decisions. Like are they bringing me closer to that? And so much of that really informs my personal belief that life is full of so many decisions that are not easy, but they are simple. Because when you comes down to it, most of us, we know what we want. We're just scared to say it. We don't know how to get it, or we don't think we deserve it.
Or a
Oh,
combination of all three.
all three, right? Like I It really is. It really is that simple. And most decisions in life, I say that with like, yes, of course, there's nuance there. Having children, like, there are decisions that
Grains of
don't
salt.
fit what I'm about to say, but most decisions in life are reversible or changeable. Like, most of the things that we do, we can undo, we can decide not to do anymore. Right. And so I think we walk around with this feeling and this fear of permanence. Like, if I
Mhm.
move there, or if I change careers, or if I leave my job, like, that's it. Game over. Like, I have to make a decision right now, and that's gonna stay. And again, while that might be like, sure, if I decided to cash out all my bank accounts tonight and put them into race horses and it went poorly, yeah,
Highly
like,
unlikely.
the the money's gone. Um, but outside of things like that, like, it really isn't all so, like, life or death and all nothing, or all, like, y all yes or all no. Like, it's not that cut and dry, so I really wish that someone had told me that too. Like, you can do multiple things at once. You can change the things that you do. It doesn't have to be one or the other, and I think that I have so much that I've learned, and still so much more learning to do, where it doesn't have to, like, I was such a black and white person, and I'm learning to live in, like, in the nuance of, like, it can be both things or it can be
Yes.
neither. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So my biggest advice for high achievers slash high achieving women is really that, right? Like most things are changeable. So
Mhm.
if you want to switch it up, or if you want to do a thing, do the thing, because it's really, most things are not that deep. Even if in the moment you feel like you're about to throw up and you're going to pass the fuck out, most things, you can change your mind later. It's going to be okay. And it's not a waste of time, because it's where you need to go right now, or what you need to do right now, because it's what you want right now in this moment in this season. Yes, be smart, plan for the future, but like, it's okay. You can change your mind later. What about you?
Similar vein, definitely, because you were talking about how decisions are nuanced and you're trying to get out of black and white thinking. That is my whole mission in life, is to not be so like polarized and extreme about things. And I had this mantra in therapy for a while that the world is gray.
Mm,
There's so much, everything's a spectrum, and between black and white is an infinite number of
a whole fuck ton
shades
of
of
gray.
gray. So many grays. And so that's one, like, the world is gray. Um I find it depends on the situation. So I'm going to give this advice knowing how I receive it sometimes, because people like to say, as a form of reassurance, like, everything is temporary if you're going through a hard time,
Mm,
like, oh, it's temporary. And that doesn't make it suck any less. So
correct.
I will
Yeah.
say, like, that's a big one. So I'll say, if you're trying to make a big decision, and if you are feeling, if you're at a low point because of an achievement, as that is the theme of this episode, then yes, that is helpful. Everything is temporary. You can recover from whatever you
And you
think.
will.
Yes,
And you
and you will.
will.
Mhm. I love that. Yes.
I love
Okay.
that.
Ending on positive but realistic notes here. What are we listening to this week?
Um, I have been ending my days with my baby, my daughter, with music. So this week I'm listening to a lot of Kid the Squid, which is like, like, imagine if like Blues Clues had like music, like, it's just like, it's this little squid guy. But he has this song called Friendship. and it's about like what makes a friend. And the chorus is really, really like it's just so catchy. And it's like, we're on the friendship. Do 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 friendship. And it's good. It's good. So that's what I'm listening to. What else did I listen? Oh, today I showed her the Cinderella waltz. And I was explaining to her, 'cause she doesn't watch TV yet. So I was explaining to
Mm,
her how in Cinderella, like that's the dance that they're doing when her dress is changing colors and like they're like boom, back, blue, pink, which I think is a great metaphor for like, girls can wear all the colors. And I love that an old ass Disney movie gave us that. So that's what I've got.
okay. Inspiring some of us to write a little film critique, queering Cinderella.
Yeah. Brought to you by
Brought to you by the gay agenda.
Oh god. Don't say it too loud. The SEO on this will be crazy.
Oh my God.
Um. Anyways, what are you listening to this week?
Speaking of the gay agenda, I got it was like last week at one point. I got Rebel Rebel a la David Bowie stuck in my head. I don't know where it came from. I didn't hear it
I
anywhere.
don't know
It
if I
just
know
like
what that sounds like off the top of my head. Ah,
yeah.
okay, got it. Got it.
Yep.
Great rendition, by the way. That I
Thank
mean,
you.
it was basically a cover at this
I could be a guitar. I can be anything I
I
want to
don't
be.
play a guitar. I
And I
am the
am the
guitar.
guitar.
Incredible, enchanting. Well, we hope you have a great week. We will see you next week where, well, I'm not gonna tell you what we're gonna talk about. You'll find out then. Have a great week and be kind to yourself.
Stay hydrated. Hydrate or dihydrate. Hug your mom. Have a
If
great
she's
week. Yes,
alive,
do that.
what the fuck was
Okay. Oh,
that?
I don't. I'm thinking about my mom. Okay. All right. We'll
Okay,
cut that
what
in
an
post.
ending.
I'm gonna turn this shit off. Okay. Bye.